What we're heading for up there is St Roch's Hill, where the two radio masts are. And that was named after a chapel that once sat inside the Iron Age hill fort that sits up there. The chapel was dedicated to the French saint St Roch, or Saint Roch. Other buildings to have resided up there include a windmill and, would you believe it, a Masonic lodge. That was put there by the second Duke of Richmond in 1730. I don't know, Ollie, I feel an initiation ceremony coming on.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Can you bring the goose lard with you, please? Oh. Welcome to today's walk. It's May Day today, the 1st of May. Beautiful sunshine here in the midst of spring. And look at this blanket, isn't it gorgeous? Bluebells. Today we're going to take you all the way to Goodwood via Kingley Vale. But first of all, we wanted you to see this wonderful carpet, nature's carpet, Hyacinth non-scripta. They've been protected since the 1981 Countryside and Wildlife Act, and quite right too. Who would want to deny anyone from seeing this? I wish you could smell it. I really wish you could smell it. Oh, I just love it, me. I love it. So here we are. Come and take a closer look at these little fellows. They are beautiful. Are bluebells my favourite flowers? They have to be. Some of my favourite memories and earliest memories of childhood days walking through glades like this with the sun coming through from the trees above. What they're trying to do this time of spring is, before the leaves start unfurling, they're trying to maximise as much daylight as is allowed before the summer leaves take over and block it off completely, and then the bracken grows up completely. For them, it's profusion. There's safety in numbers. And in the last 15 to 20 years, there's been a significant revival in the number of our natural bluebells in the British Isles, and that's got to be good news. Well, April showers here on the 1st of May. Up there, that's Kingley Vale, and that's where we're going to head. It's a very exciting place, and a very important one as well. That's the largest yew forest in Western Europe. In there is some of the oldest trees you'll find anywhere in Britain. In fact, research carried out in 1996 suggests that some of those trees predate pre-Christian times, which, if true, would make them the oldest living organisms anywhere in the British Isles. You know, it's easy to see why local legends have persisted about Kingley Vale containing stories of all sorts of supernatural, mysterious creatures like serpents, dragons. Stories abound of ghostly Roman figures, druids, devil-worshipping witches, all sorts of things. When you see these branches which have been twisted and torn out of shape by constant weather fronts over centuries, it's no surprise that there's been tales of all sorts of strange manifestations going on. Weird and wonderful legendary creatures living here within the woodland of Kingley Vale. You know, when we talk about the trees, or some of the trees in Kingley Vale being up to 1,000 years old, then this is going to be a classic example. When this was a sapling, the newly invaded Normans, they'd be rampaging through the country. If it could talk, what tales it could tell of the signing of the Magna Carta, 1066, the murder of Thomas à Becket. So the oldest trees in Kingley Vale sit here at the foot of the valley, and now we've come out into the open and we're going to climb up to Bow Hill, which is all still part of this massive Kingley Vale woodland. This really is a very steep part of the hill, and it makes for hot work. Of course, to give you a bit of a timeline, what's going on at the moment, this coming Thursday, the country goes to the polls. It's election day, which, to be perfectly frank, is all very boring. We've got no political convictions one way or the other. We don't swing to the left or the right. We don't care. If you excuse me, I'm going to remove my fleece. So, if you wouldn't mind just looking at the lovely views, I shall disrobe. That's better. Yes, as I say, totally impartial we are. This area has 14 scheduled ancient monuments, and the most impressive of those are these two bell barrows. Massive, ancient Bronze Age burial mounds known as the Devil's Humps. They would have been specifically built up on this exposed plateau of Bow Hill so that the remains of local chieftains could be laid to rest overlooking the land that they once ruled, 1,000 to 1,500 years BC. Sir Arthur Tansley was a renowned 20th century biologist and the man who gave the English language the word ecosystem. It was his persistence in having this whole area preserved that resulted in Kingley Vale becoming a National Nature Reserve in 1952, one of the country's first. And this stone was placed here to commemorate his achievements. Look at this. This is a good time of year. These little fellows, they're just starting to come out now. After the ravages of what has been a very harsh winter, they're just starting to show their heads. This is the Abba Gum Num Bum Wum tree. Now we're coming down off Bow Hill and the rain is closing in and it's time for us to leave Kingley Vale. So with Kingley Vale behind us, it's onward for the Trundle. Our route crosses the terminus of a cycle track that's known as the Centurion Way, and that goes down bits of the old Chichester to Midhurst branch line, which was opened on the 11th of July 1881. And although it closed to passenger traffic in 1935, bits of it continued to be used, transporting local sugar beet and gravel right up into 1991. The last train that attempted to go down the entire length of the line, well that crashed on the 19th of November 1951 when parts of the line were swept away by floods just south of Midhurst. So here we are in amongst the splash of colour that dominates this time of spring. And this crop, this divides opinion and has done over the last 20 or 30 years more than anything as European quota yields have upped. And the southern landscape, and indeed most landscapes, are totally dominated by fields and splashes of yellow. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people lament how it's changed the countryside. Personally, I don't mind it. Nothing wrong with a bit of yellow. And it smells nice as well. And the bumblebees love it. So, we're heading away from the valley of the River Lavant and finally making our way up towards the Trundle. So it seems we have been blessed with a rather pleasant evening, and that enables us to look back from whence we have come. Kingley Vale still in view way over there. And as we climb, lovely views to the south now. You've got Lavant, the enclave of, just over there, the spire of Chichester Cathedral. And this field, I've been up here before when it was covered, no word of a lie, the most vibrant red, alive with poppies. It was a tremendous sight. The 676-foot high St Roch's Hill was crossed by a Neolithic causeway. That was built around about 3,700 to 3,300 years BC. After that came this Iron Age hill fort, which we know as the Trundle. It's a Saxon word, basically means circle. In 1645, the Trundle was used as a base by a group of political activists known as the Clubmen. They were formed to help protect the common people from atrocities carried out by both sides during the English Civil War. Yes, history tells us all about regicide, the execution of Charles I, Oliver Cromwell and all that, but the Clubmen, they get to the heart of the tragedy. Theirs is the untold story of that violent and bloody conflict. What fascinates me most of all about all this is when you consider that during Paleolithic times, which is round about when Stone Age man would have been wandering around here, the sea would have lapped right up to the foot of this hill. And we know that because raised beach deposits have been unearthed at the foot of Trundle Hill. That all changed during one of our many ice ages when compacted northern ice sheets pressed down and forced southern England up by about 130 feet. And that forced the sea level away to its current position over 8 miles to the south. The Trundle provides the perfect natural grandstand for Goodwood Racecourse. Horse racing was first introduced at Goodwood by the 3rd Duke of Richmond in 1801 when he put a course called the Harrowway on his Goodwood Park estate. Today it's recognised as one of the top courses in the country, with the glorious Goodwood meeting being one of the most eagerly awaited events in the horse racing calendar when it starts on the final Tuesday of every July. 1.5 miles to the southeast of here is Goodwood House, and that's been the ancestral home to the Dukes of Richmond, a title created in 1675 for Charles Lennox, the illegitimate son of Charles II by the Duchess of Portsmouth. 2 miles to the south is Goodwood Race Circuit and Aerodrome, which started out life as RAF West Hampnet, where 2 fighter squadrons were based during the Battle of Britain. The first race, held in 1948, was won by Stirling Moss, but it was also where his career came to an end when an accident in 1962 left him in a coma for 6 months. It was also there in 1970 where Bruce McLaren died test driving a car. He was the founder of what has since gone on to become one of the most successful Formula One racing teams of all time. So we leave the Trundle with a heavy heart, but spirits renewed. And that's the end of the walk and the end of today's film.